Hey everybody, welcome back. It's episode 82 of the Alfie Whattam Technology Podcast. Thank you for joining, thank you for watching on Spotify, and thank you for tuning in. On today's episode, I am joined by Mr. Simon Bailey. Simon, could you just give us a little bit of an intro, mate? Tell people who you are, what your background is, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, hi all. Simon Bailey. I've been in this industry since 1999. To give you some idea of how old I am, I remember when the marquee tag came out, and we thought it was the most wonderful thing that had ever been discovered, this side of fried bread. Over the period of my career, I've done various tasks, worked on various projects. Currently, I'm the engineering manager with Starres, and the UK-based in the EMA team. Previous to that, worked with major industry leaders and local companies. But I've been doing this long enough to have seen the changes, and to be honest with you, the landscape is always changing. So it's always been super interesting. And some of the things that yourself, Alfie, have been kind of highlighting and showcasing have been kind of like really interesting topics. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, some topics that I would never have been exposed to through my normal day-to-day work.
Absolutely.
So, big props to you for that.
Cool. Thank you, mate. And it's good to have you on to discuss what's happening in the world of tech. Just before we kick off, just want to give a shout out to welovealpha.com, who obviously make this podcast possible. Specifically want to focus on kind of the property and real estate sector specialists that we're doing at the moment. So we've hired top developers from Zoopla, from Dexter's, from Rightmove, and so on and so forth. So if you're in that space, as Simon is, and you're looking for React or Angular or Java or C# developers or whatever the developers that you need to succeed are, then welovealpha.com is a place where you need to go to get the top talent that you need to succeed, really. So without further ado, mate, let's go into kind of what's happening in the world of tech. Be good to get your perspective. So starting with our good friend, Mr. Elon. So Elon Musk, Twitter, and the mysterious X app. Elon Musk and Twitter, they've been going back and forth for a while now. It looks like it's come to an end. So with a short, succinct letter from Musk's lawyers to Twitter's, which announced that he intended to buy the firm after all, and a tweet from Musk to his over 100 million followers talking about X, the everything app. So it looks like Elon's going to get Twitter. Obviously, this is changing daily, this story at the moment. And it looks like it's all part of a master plan to create essentially what could only be described as like a super app. And the closest that we've got so far with that is it's like WeChat over in China, which has payments integrated, news, live video. Facebook is kind of a super app if you look at the marketplace and the other features it's got. But what do you make of this, Simon, of him buying Twitter, of the whole X project? What are your thoughts on this?
I have to admit, when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, what's he playing at now? I'll be honest with you, I'm not a Twitter user. So it's one of those kind of platforms that I've never really got to grips with.
Sure.
So I could understand him wanting to buy it, and I could understand the rationale. It's a fantastic platform for him, because I know he's very active on it, as well as people like Stephen Fry and obviously famously Donald Trump and so on. But it was always one of those, I wasn't quite sure of where he was going with it. But, this kind of, we want to open it up for more freedom of speech, the kind of reducing the amount of censorship. Unfortunately, we live in a world where the legalities are so kind of overbearing. And, the days of the Wild West of the internet are gone. We are a governed state, we are a governed part of the universe. So I wasn't quite sure how he was going to kind of formulate that and bring that into fruition. I mean, I admire him. He's got the what's it.
Absolutely.
But to stand up and offer that much money as well. I mean, really, that's massively overvaluing Twitter. What was it, 44 billion?
Yeah, I believe he is paid a lot more than what it's worth, and that was part of the reason why he wanted to get out of the deal, because the share prices over the period of months kind of crashed. So these things take time, don't they? You can't just buy Twitter overnight. But it looks like it's back on the table. He's buying it at the original price. But going back to the previous point, I think what he's trying to do is soon have his X app live, essentially, which is what can only only be described at the moment as a super app. If you go to x.com at the moment, which he owns, it's essentially a white page with the X just written on it. But you know, is there a way for him to tie in Tesla and SpaceX and Twitter and you know, the Boring Company and other things to make them all succinct and come together? But what do you think of super apps? Like, would they going to replace like regular apps? Do you think? And do you think we'll be using one or two apps in a couple of years that kind of do everything?
I'd like to say no, but unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be right. I think we're headed that way. I mean, you know, he's got the history to do this sort of thing. There's going to be, I suppose it's a bit like the kind of global players in the internet industry. There are, you know, the FANG group, and I think apps are going to go that way. There's going to be a very kind of small group of individual applications that govern quite a lot of what we do via a mobile base. Is it a good thing? Well, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, you know, the rise of Facebook. I mean, I'm old enough to remember MySpace and how that would never die. But, you know, things come and go. I mean, Facebook seems to have got its hold on the situation. And you're right, when you were mentioning like marketplace and groups and videos and everything, it's almost a super app in its own right. If they brought in payment structures and things like that, then they would almost be there. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I would use Facebook Marketplace over eBay, for example.
Yeah, me too.
And I mean, just that shift itself, because eBay was one of the largest companies in the internet space, you know, they were one of the aspirationals. And now they are a second thought to me. I very rarely visit eBay nowadays. So I think we are in a universe where we're going to be involved with, you know, the super application. And where that goes, I don't know. I mean, do we wish to be governed by a few? Who knows? But the beauty of the internet and the people involved are, irrespective of whatever the kind of mainstream do, there will always be those who buck the trend. There'll always be those who fight the system. They'll come out with alternatives, you know. I mean, you know, DuckDuckGo and, you know, these kind of alternate search engine systems and, you know, Tor systems and things like this. There's always going to be, you know, a kind of reverse current.
Absolutely. I mean, the next,
which I think is great.
The next Facebook's probably being invented right now by some 10-year-old kid in India. You know, it's probably. So, you know, the big companies, they won't last forever, will they? Yeah.
No, I mean, in terms of, it'd be interesting to see what technology they bring there. I mean, if we look at Facebook and, you know, React and the kind of JS technologies that they've brought into the kind of mainstream marketplace, it'd be interesting to see how the kind of app solutions develop and the language structures are developing there, and see how that kind of integrates into our normal day-to-day working life.
Yeah. Speaking of kind of another big tech company, which is in the news at the moment, is kind of Samsung and the whole foldable smartphones trend. I saw these in, it was like Selfridges or Harrods a couple of years ago, and now you know, they're out there, people are buying them, but it hasn't quite struck the fire that they were hoping to ignite. So barely anybody is purchasing them at the moment. Shipments of the phones will reach about 41.5 million by 2026, which gives hope to that sector. However, that's still a lot smaller than what they were planning for it to be. I mean, I remember when flip phones were actually flip phones, and you know, you had the keyboard.
The Motorola Razr.
Yeah, exactly. I had one with Snake on it and that sort of thing. But you know, this is I'm not sure if you've tried a foldable smartphone. It's a lot better. Obviously, the screen had a lot of issues to begin with. It was leaving lines on it. I think they've mostly got those creases out, for lack of a better pun. But yeah, it doesn't seem like it's quite lit the world on fire yet. What do you make of kind of foldable smartphones, Simon?
I'll be honest with you, I love the inventiveness of it. I love the fact that Samsung have looked at you go into a phone store nowadays and it's just black slates everywhere.
Yeah.
They are, what's the difference? I mean, if you look at the advertising for most smartphones nowadays, it's concentrating on the camera. This phone has got this camera. If I wanted a camera, I'd go and buy a camera. But you know, what can this phone offer me as a phone? Does it have long battery life? Does it have excellent reception? These are things that somebody of my age is interested in. So when somebody comes up with an alternate, a folding phone, you think, actually, I'm not sure if I'll be honest with you, I think the delivery is not particularly good. I've seen them, I've used them, I don't like them. They just, and also they're horrifically expensive. I mean, the Fold 4, I think, starts at £1,600.
Oh, blimey, that is a lot of money for like the regular average person, right? To get a phone.
Exactly, and that's for a 128. If you go for the 1 TB, that's over £2,000.
Okay.
You're in laptop territory, or high-end tablet territory. Okay, you can't fold them up and put in your pocket, but they are. But every leading edge, or anything at the edge of the kind of envelope is always going to be more expensive. There'll always be people who will wish to have it. But when you're dealing with something that's £400 more than the iPhone 14, which would be its competitor in terms of performance, people are going to be naturally swayed to the iPhone. I'm not an iPhone person myself. Really, but in terms of technology, I think it's brilliant. Yeah, I understand what you say on with the folding technologies. They had a little bit of problems initially, and I do like the pun. They've ironed the creases out now, so well done. But they still, I suppose. I mean, I've seen the advertising for the Fold, the Flip, and that is very much centered on, again, the camera and its use, kind of almost like a built-in tripod mechanism. And the Fold more towards the business end. So looking at more the kind of tablet user who wants the convenience of a phone without having two devices.
Yeah, with the whole tablet thing, Simon, that's kind of, I was speaking to somebody at Samsung very recently about this, and that was very much their angle, that whilst the phones, it's almost there to disrupt and almost kind of replace the tablet market as well. Because if you've got a phone which you can put in your pocket, you don't have to carry a tablet around, you open it and then it's double the screen size, it's a mini tablet, then, the phone might not be selling as well as a phone might do, but it might be replacing tablet sales. So it could be an interesting and difficult thing to measure from that respect. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're definitely right. I mean, where is it? It's like a kind of crossover. It's like one of these vehicles that's not either an off-roader or an on-roader. It's kind of a crossover device that we're not sure which camp it fits in. So which metrics are we going to be using to decide on its success? I mean, it's super interesting that IDC reckon that, there's going to be 41 million of these things in circulation by 2026. It would be interesting to see whether that pans out. And I'd like to see the reaction from other companies. I know that Oppo and Huawei have been developing foldable devices as well. I actually have mine's an Oppo phone. But I think they're having some issues with the kind of apps and how to integrate them onto the folding platform outside of China. So again, it would be interesting to see what the rest of the industry does and how it reacts over a period of time. When the iPhone came out, I mean, the original iPhone, there was a very similar sort of reaction. It was kind of, everyone was slow to take it up. It didn't kind of gain, in terms of the competitors, a lot of competitors didn't kind of jump on that.
It had no keyboard. BlackBerry had the keyboard, right? And the Apple was just a full screen. That was like their big innovation.
It was, and it was like, well, how do I interact with that? And I can't use a touchscreen keyboard. That's rubbish. And again, I mean, if you remember the BlackBerry adverts, we have a real keyboard.
Not anymore.
Use these well, exactly. They've got the touchscreen now as well. I mean, I remember the days that every year we'd see phones like the Motorola Razr, the V3, the new Nokias, the Samsung, not Samsung, the Sony Ericssons and things like this. And I suppose from my mind, I do like the fact that somebody's doing something different. When you walk into the store, it's like the Nothing phone. Have you seen
the Nothing phone's cool. I had somebody on from Nothing talking about this.
Excellent. It's lovely. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was walking past the store a few weeks ago and it instantly attracted my attention and I had to go in and look at it. Now, for me, that's done exactly what it should do. And I think the foldable devices will do it. I'd like to see kind of other concepts. I mean, I've seen some where they have like rollout screens and so on. So they'd be like super interesting, but I don't think that format is as usable. So I think the kind of the folding will work. I don't know. Maybe it's like maybe we're into wrist-held projectors next, where it just shines it onto your forearm or something like that.
That would be the dream. Or just do a AR, VR. No need for smartphones anymore. Ultimately, if you can get these with notifications, Google Glasses being the early version, but if we can get something that takes off mainstream, then I don't need a phone anymore. I got this.
That would be ideal. Because then I know exactly where it is all the time. I mean, I wear glasses the same as yourself. I mean, two things. One, I'd always know where my glasses were because I'm forever losing them. And secondly, I wouldn't have to worry about my phone. and it always surprises me. Just one thing, the kind of phones is, and the Samsung have done it with these, is it's the amount of money. Samsung is a really interesting concept or kind of proposal, because with iPhones and all the rest of the kind of slate descriptions, they spend an inordinate amount of money on the cases. And then we go and put them in a £3 case that we buy off Amazon. It's like, so this is kind of bucking that trend. It's like, look, we've done the design, stop messing with it. Don't destroy the look of it, because there isn't going to be a case to fit it. So anyway, I think it's great, and I love the innovation. More of it, I say.
Okay, cool. On more of the kind of dark side of tech. So cyber attacks are getting more and more costly at the moment for victims. So more than a third losing at least $100,000, which absolutely blew my mind when I read that stat. But they're getting more and more costly. Research by Atlas VPN on the destructive potential of virus and malware cyber attacks found that almost a quarter of victims' businesses lost anywhere between 100 to 500K in such an incident. What's more, 11% lost more than 500 to $1 million, whereas 4% lost $1 million or more. Overall, 37% lost 100,000 or more, while a quarter lost between 50 to 100,000. Those are crazy numbers if you think about it. And if you're running Google or Facebook, it's 50 grand is nothing. But if you're running a small business, that's a few months of wages for your team. So what do you kind of make of that Simon, in terms of that number getting bigger and bigger?
I think I was saying to you just as I was saying to you just before we started, I've recently read or been exposed to a presentation, and it's super interesting that actually the biggest kind of body are now organized crime. So these are organized. I mean, to be honest, and I forget what the name of it was now, but there's one group, one organization. They have an HR department. They have benefits. Oh
my God!
I mean, they are literally as big as they are a company. And I forget. I will desperately try and remember it. But I mean, ransomware attacks are kind of increasing, like 57% of the time, or up to 57%. I mean, these are the biggest problems that SecOps are facing nowadays. Is the fact that what are we looking at? Are we looking at data breaches or ransomware, or and to have your entire business, especially if you're digital only, the digital first, it is a make or break situation that can destroy you. But I mean, I read a statistic. I mean, I know that 99% of statistics are made up, but it was something like 58% of all companies in America that have been held ransom paid.
Really? Wow.
Really? I mean, how is that? But the thing is, we are so dependent on our digital infrastructures or digital presences. It's like we'll pay it and then work it out afterwards. And Allianz is obviously a big insurance company, and they produce some really interesting reports on this. And I'll be honest with you, it annoys the teeth out of me. I just think it's one of my boils me sort of topics. It's there's a lot of people who are doing a lot of really good work, and they're hard workers. I've got teams of engineers, fantastic. They're at it, they're on it. We've got roadmaps, we're working towards end results. We've all got mortgages, we've got bills to pay and everything else, and yet these people are coming along and just ultimately destroying lives in some instances. I've heard reports where people business owners have taken their own lives. Of the kind of the mental shock of it all. So what do we do about it? Now that's the real $64,000 question, isn't it? It's for me. I think the security side and the cybersecurity side of business is going to be the next big topic. I think it's going to be the big thing going forward. I've already seen it in certain industries where there a massive amount of investment in that area, in personnel, in infrastructure, in technology, to try and stop it. I mean, to give you an example, there was a company that I did work for, and they were attacked and ransomware through their IP cameras, through their IP webcams. I mean, it's like through the security system. So, would you think of that? But this is why I think there's going to be a whole generation of individuals that are going to come along, and I hope they come along really quickly, by the way. And they come along and they say, right, look, seriously, everything is a potential. Let's look at it. The amount of money that's involved is crippling. Never mind health and safety breaches where they can be 100, 200, 300,000 pound fines from the HSE. We're talking about criminals who are just literally printing money off hardworking individuals' backs. And it's terrible. It really does. Sorry, it's just kind of really
No, man. I feel just as passionate as you do about it. It's obviously a pretty awful thing to see what you love, technology being used for the negative purposes. But what about for like the average person watching this, Simon? If they do not want to get hacked, is there any like basic not to teach people how to kind of suck eggs here, but what can the average person be doing to kind of decrease their chances of getting hacked? And I'm not talking necessarily about a business owner with a complex system, who could lose millions of pounds or something. Just like the average person, what could they be doing?
I'll be honest, I'm not a specialist in this area. My advice to any business, an SME or something like that, is employ someone. Go and speak to a specialist company, get their advice, pay the money. You might think that £2,000 or £3,000 or whatever these guys charge is a lot of money. It is always going to be a infinitesimally small percentage.
A drop in the bucket.
Is actually worth.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like backup. That was the old mantra, wasn't it? It's like secure. It should be the new mantra. Always make sure you're safe. Always make sure you're secure. You don't drive a car without a seatbelt. This is having a cyber tech or cybersecurity company come in and do a complete and utter report analysis on your business and your structures will be the most valuable thing you'll probably do this year, I would say, for your business. I mean, in terms of personal, don't use the same password everywhere. I mean, come on, let's get a grip. I mean, I am quite a big advocate of password keepers. There is always that thing in the back of my mind as well. What if they break that one?
Sure.
They've got everything.
Yeah.
So, but from a business point of view, secure it. Don't ever think you're too small.
I was speaking with your old colleague on the podcast, Nick Gupta, the other day, and we did a story about how the Intercontinental Hotels Group. Their password was QWERTY1234. So that ties to your but I know you're not a cyber expert, but that ties to your point perfectly. Don't use that as your password because you're going to get hacked and you're going to lose millions of pounds.
You are. I mean, securepasswordgenerator.org, I think is. That's great.
That sort of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Keep secure records of everything you've got. I mean, and everything. But yeah, I mean, Nick, absolutely brilliant guy. I mean, he's one of the leaders in our industry, and he's like kind of really on the button. He knows the score, what's going on in so many fields. Got a lot of respect for Nick. I've got a lot of time from him. But it's horrific that somebody can do that. But I mean, here's a fun one for you. If you want to talk about kind of hacking and injection,
sure.
There was a guy in America who SQL injected the speed cameras by putting basically drop database command on the front of his car, and he wrote it. Okay. He had it in a sticker on the front of his car, and allegedly, because it digitizes the image and it's an OCR system, it recognized this SQL injection and ran it. Now, I'll be perfectly honest with you, Alfie. I don't know whether that's an urban myth or not, but I love the story. So it's like, even that system, make sure it's secure because you never know what can happen. And even down to things like making sure that, because one of the big problems nowadays I've come across is social media mining. They're getting access to things through social media. Be super hot on your social media. Keep it nice and tight. Keep everything really in-house. I mean, the best advice, and it's advice I give to my children, is do not put anything online that you don't want people to know. If you're not prepared to stand in the middle of the street and shout about it, don't put it online. Keep it to yourself. But it's an ongoing problem, and the problem is the more I've seen the internet rise from virtually, from a very, very kind of its infancy up to now, and as with anything, as something becomes more popular, as something becomes more entrenched, as something becomes greater, there's always going to be an increase in criminal activity and a focus from the more criminal elements of the universe as we move forward. It's a shame, but it's the world we live in, and we just have to react and be proactive more than anything.
Good advice to finish with, mate. Absolutely, not waiting for the hack to happen and then try to fix it. Get on top of it, get your social media tight. Set up two-factor authentication, use password generators, all of that annoying stuff which you see online all the time is probably the difference between you losing or keeping your cash, really. So good note to finish on. Well, so thanks for coming on, Simon. It was good to get your perspective, your insights into what's happening in the world. Be awesome to get you back on in the future as well. That'd be very cool.
Anytime, yeah.
Awesome.
Lovely.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone for watching as well. Just a reminder, make sure that you're subscribed, followed, etc. on Spotify for almost daily conversations at the moment that we've got coming out. And as always, if you need to hire the best UK software developers, welovealpha.com is where you need to go. So thanks, Simon. Thanks for watching. And thanks, everyone, for your time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.